This is a Fox News alert. As we have been reporting on this program for weeks, these so-called journalists over at NBC News and CNN, they have been breathlessly trying to connect President Trump to the Russians and trying to discredit the administration and discredit the president. Take a look at this.
We are, number one, nailing down more direct connections between the Trump campaign and the Russian government at the time the Russian government was influencing our election. And number two, at the same time, we are also starting to see what may be signs of continuing influence in our country, not just during the campaign, but during the administration. Basically signs of what could be a continuing operation.
Vladimir Putin over there in the Kremlin did everything he could to put guess who in the White House.
CNN has learned that the nation's top intelligence officials provided information to President-elect Donald Trump and to President Barack Obama last week about claims of Russian efforts to compromise President-elect Trump.
All right, joining us now is someone who has been following the story closely, who, by the way, those news agencies, organizations, if you even want to call them that, in fact, ignore, whose sources tell her no evidence, none found of collusion at all between Trump and the Russians. From CircaNews.com, Sarah Carter is with us. Sarah, all right, didn't James Clapper say that there's no evidence at all suggesting that the Russians influenced our elections this past year? Am I right about that?
You're absolutely right. The Director of National Intelligence says there's no evidence. The sources that I've spoken with, and John Solomon, who co-wrote the story with me, say that there is no evidence of criminality that they have found in connection between the Trump team, President Trump, or the Russians. And now Director Comey with the FBI, I've just heard reports that he is going to announce this week whether or not the FBI is investigating Russia and the Trump connection. So I think that they've come to a point where they want to dispel all of these rumors, these innuendos, these conspiracy theories.
I mean, it was just like the New York Times, a front page story. All these women say horrible things about Trump until we interviewed the women, and they all love Donald Trump. I mean, it was one big lie and one after another. I mean, part of this is actually funny, but a part of this is dangerous. Now, you have sources that confirmed. I want to be very clear. This story that you broke is so important, and it's interesting that the mainstream media, John Solomon was an AP reporter for 20 years. How many years have you been reporting?
Oh, my gosh, I've been reporting for 2 decades now. I've covered everything from Afghanistan to the war in Iraq, and John, too. So.
Yeah, all right, so the important thing here is you've actually confirmed something that nobody else in the media has, that there was a FISA warrant in October before the election, that the FISA warrant was related to issues involving potential Russian influence, and that as an ancillary sidebar investigative part of this, every time they looked at Donald Trump and his campaign and possible collusion, what did your intelligence and law enforcement say they found?
Nothing. They cannot find any criminal evidence, and that server investigation found absolutely nothing. In fact, we're breaking a story tomorrow, Sean, on the people actually who reported to the FBI the pings between the servers, and it gives a little bit more background on the people that actually kind of pushed the FBI into the investigation.
Can I guess that it might be somebody in the political arena on the other side of the aisle? Is that a possibility?
Well, you could, your guess is close. I could say that it's somebody that supports the other side of the aisle in that political arena. Ah,
so Hannity has good instincts. So in other words, would this be a jump to suggest, and I'm obviously trying to pull it out of you, and you're not going to give it to me all, but give it all to me, but would it be a jump to suggest that maybe political operatives fed this to law enforcement and advanced this entire narrative that now is proven to be false by your reporting?
I think that we're just at the very tip of the iceberg with this, and I think that that will possibly reveal part of that and also lead us to more and more people that were involved in, let's say, making those dots and trying to connect dots that don't exist. So that's all I can say on that.
All right. I'm trying real hard.
But you're
Sarah.
good.
You're making my job really hard here. I'm really trying. All right, last question.
Okay.
When you heard NBC News that we just played, and you just heard CNN reporting, and they've been on this now since even before the election, some of them. Are they lying to the American people? And I know that's a hard question, but at this point, is there any evidence to suggest what they are saying to the American people is true?
No, there isn't. And I don't know if it's necessarily a lie. I think it's something that they want to be true. And there's a good possibility that they have sources leading them in an opposite direction. But I don't see why they couldn't contact the sources that count. Now, those would be the people in federal agencies, federal law enforcement agencies, and the intelligence community that would have been involved directly in this investigation.
So the same media that colluded with Hillary Clinton could be lying about this because they couldn't accept the results of the election, and there might even be a political connection to getting law enforcement and maybe even the intelligence community to leak and lie, all in an effort after the election to delegitimize a president. Is that a fair conclusion?
I think that is a fair conclusion, but I think we also have to look at the fact that there are people within the bureaucracy that feel vehemently that President Trump, and I've talked to sources in the intelligence community and in federal law enforcement, that feel that there are people they work with that oppose President Trump being the president. And that's where we're seeing these leaks come out. And this is very, very dangerous. This is very dangerous to the republic. It's very dangerous to the American people. And it's dangerous to our privacy. What we saw with Flynn and what we've seen with the leaks, even the tax return leaks tonight, I think is something that, you know, that needs to be investigated.
I am guessing that you're right. What you're going to report tomorrow will probably be the tip of the iceberg, and I believe that we're going to see a political angle to this slowly unfold and unravel, and it'll be interesting if the media that colluded with Hillary will own up to the fact that they've been talking about something that's never been true for, what, 6 months now. Great work, Sarah Carter. We'll have you back on tomorrow night, and we will discuss this further. We'll look forward to your column tomorrow. Thanks for not giving me all your sources and not giving it away. I really appreciate it.
You're good, though.
I'm trying. All right, coming up.